Hey to the masses. All right. Tonight conversations with the stepmom. What's up, ladies? I definitely wanted to get this time in with you all. It has been a rather great run. You know, just really just enjoying whatever has been really just coming our way and not really enjoying it, but being able to have someone to go through the trying times with you, I will not take that for granted. And just knowing that my husband is there right beside me, no matter what we go through, is very refreshing to say the least. Um, However, we've been through the storm, of course, and I think that's what makes us the couple that we are. It's actually because of what we've actually been through, and that makes us stronger. So, um, just speaking strictly from a stepmom's perspective, my stepdaughter is right now running rampant, whatever you want to call that. And just one thing that I really do not understand is when people say things like, well, mothers and daughters never get along. When daughters turn into teenagers, they never get along, or um, them and the mother, they always clash and blah, 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 blah. I'm sick of the excuses to try to justify exactly why my stepdaughter is behaving the way she is. I'm tired of the excuses, and the reason why I call them the excuses is because, believe it or not, my brother, my sister, and I, we all grew up in the same household with our biological mom and dad, and my sister did not go through the mother daughter clashing of the teenagers. I did not go through the mother daughter clashing of the teenagers. And my brother did not go through the, I guess, son father clashing of the teenagers. I don't know. Or mother son clashing of the teenagers. I'm tired of hearing that as an excuse. I'm also very, very, very tired of going through the same thing and continually worrying about how my stepdaughter's doing and what decision is she gonna make today, and is she doing good, is she making her own decisions, is she being pressured by peer pressure from her peers, and is she going to make a decision that's going to be detrimental to the for the rest of her life, or is she thinking smart? Is she okay? Will she be there at school today when I pick her up? Is she going to continue on this serial runaway path, or is she going to get better? Or I'm tired of the constant dictatorship of my actual mind and my thoughts and our life. And it's been a long time, and it's time for the dictatorship, or the bogarting, per se, of our lives to be to cease. um it's where we're at our wits end with it, and I'm just saying this from a stepmother's perspective, just because it's stepmother conversations and I haven't talked to you ladies in a while. But it's time for it to cease. It's time for me to uh, draw my boundary, gird up my loins. I have already given whatever it is that she needs to go through in her life to have her on the wheel that God has for her life. So be it. So I've already given her back to Christ, which is exactly what I knew to do as soon as possible. I learned that actually last year, and I'm not talking about 2017, I'm talking about in 2016 when she actually became a freshman. a lot of the things that a lot of the things that she was doing, well, everything, of course, that your child is doing at any age, you cannot control. You can only tell them what your experience is, or guide them down the right path, but it's their responsibility to take the right steps and not venture off the path that you've told them, or the path that you have explained to them would be the best path. A lot of times, some children choose not to go down the path that you have made for them to make it easier. It won't be perfect, but at least it'll be easier. And it's, I guess you can say it's been baby proofed, if that makes sense, or what do they call it? Child proof. Child proof. They decide to go on their own path where they can't see, and I guess it's a matter of them being in more control, or they have a mind of their own. And we get that. So I'm just at a point now to where I am taking my life back, as well as I'm taking my time back, and I'm using it wisely on Nari and Mani. There's been a lot of dictatorship in our home with our oldest daughter, and because there just has been, and it's time. It's time out for that. I've done more than any biological mother would do for my stepdaughter. I've done more than any biological mother would do for their child, for their biological child. So the only thing that I was concerned about is I wanted to make sure I've done my due diligence as her mom, and I have done that above and beyond. I just don't want any opportunity to pass for me not to have, I just don't want Brian and I to miss any type of signs or anything. We've done everything we could do. Any type of counseling, any type of program, any type of psychologist, child therapist. We have gotten her all the help that she can get from the state. You name it, we've done it. We've done our due diligence as parents. And while it's very, very, very difficult to watch your child fall over and over and over and over again, up until about a month ago, Brian and I were continually catching her, catching her every time, catching her, catching her, catching her, catching her, not letting her fall. Now it's time for us to release and allow her to fall and fall and fall, and we will still be here to show our unconditional love and pick up the pieces whenever she comes back around to where she needs to be mentally. So we are, me, from my perspective, I am again taking my life back, and the dictatorship shall cease in my household. And it's just amazing how when one part of your household that has caused a lot of worry and hardship is removed, um, or it's no longer there, or it stops. It's amazing to feel absolutely nothing, and you are able to say, "This is what peace feels like." I have never felt peace in a long. It's been years before I felt this feeling that I've been feeling ever since our oldest daughter is off, getting the help that she actually needs. Um, so my next stepmom conversation will actually be about um, the difficulties of allowing my child to fail, um, and allowing them to learn life on their own, because when they're at a point where they turn 17 years old and they don't want to abide by by your rules, and they don't want help, and they're doing everything to go against the grain, you have to release them. So that's what I'm going to be talking about next, and then another conversation of that will be that I will be talking about is the feeling of peace, and how it's bittersweet, but it's extremely sweet. But peace is something that I think some people take for granted because they don't realize it is peace. Like before all of this teenage stuff started happening, um, we didn't realize that we had peace. We didn't realize that until it started happening, and then we found out what chaos feels like. And now that we actually have peace in our home, it's a completely different place to be. It feels completely different. It feels euphoric. It feels good. Um, and we're still going through other things, but just removing one of the things in our lives that were huge and that did not help us with from our peace aspect um, feels, like I said, euphoric. So I will be talking about other things on my stepmom conversations. You all know that. Um, and I'm going to try to do one of these at least every 2 weeks or so, just to get with you all. But I mean, people say, having a teenager is difficult and all that. And I never knew what they were talking about because I understood while I was a teenager, I may have had a smart mouth, kind of, until it was quickly corrected by my mom or dad. But it was never to the extent of what we have reaped. And not to mention, I'm reaping something that I did not sow. So that's a whole nother conversation. Um, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation because if I get on that soapbox, I'll never get off here. Bye, masses. BryantNishaTV. Oh, yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Have a good night.